covered. I'm covered in swatches. Welcome back to my channel, and I am pleased to bring you the second update for my Eyes project pan. Eyes stands for Enjoy Your Eyeshadows, and it was created by Deb B, who I'll have linked down below, as well as everyone else who has joined in. So the purpose of this project is to use as many eyeshadows as you can in the year 2023. And my goal is to work through my eyeshadow palettes one palette at a time, no pan left behind. I will be rolling out all my palettes that I was currently working on this update. And I went a little bit off book, off track. So we'll get into that as we go along. But what I'm going to be doing is I'll show you what palette I was working on, and then I'll pull it up on the screen and we'll go through how many uses I have on each shadow. If it was a palette that I was working on last update, I will show you how many uses I had last update compared to this update, all up on the screen while I go through the total number of uses. And let's jump straight in with my Tasty Avocado palette. So this has been in here for 2 updates. And as you can see, this is what it's looking like now. And there is a pretty shiny pan in there. This is from my Beauty A to Z project. I'll pull it up on the screen and we will go through all the uses. We've used Smash 4 times. We've used Toast twice. We've used Avo 3 times. We've used California once. We've used Smoothie twice. We've used Half once. We've used Hass once. We've used Guacamole twice. Brunch once. Green Gold once. Mousse 11 times. Stone once. Cream 10 times. Bite once. Pear once. Foodie once. Seed once, and Lime also once. I'm pleased to have a new pan in this palette, and as part of Deb's request, we need to say our pit and our peak shadows from what we have been using, but I figured I'm going to try to do it from each one of the palettes I've used. So I would say that my peak shadow is either Lime or Guacamole. I quite enjoy, they are matte shadows. This is what they look like. So just a basic shiny greens, but if you can't tell from my eye look, I do love myself a lime green shade. On the other end of the scale, we have to have a pit. And that is actually quite hard. I'm not sure what shadow I enjoyed the least. It might have been Stone, actually. Stone or Hass. I would say either of those would be my pit from this palette. No particular reason why, because these are both really pretty. I guess that just, I was feeling more in the mood for light, bright shadows, so I didn't really want to reach towards those colors. Peaks are easy. Pits are really hard sometimes, unless you 100% know that that was a bad shadow. But this palette will be rolling out. Next up, we have the Sample Beauty Equalizer palette. This palette has also been in this project for 2 updates. And this is what it looks like. I really enjoyed using this palette. Let's pull it up on the screen and we'll go through all our uses. So we've used Rubber once, Tequila once, Cuppa twice, Lime twice, Duck twice, Vitamin twice, Grass once, Tea 3 times, Hopper once, C 3 times, Queen twice, Blue once, Touch 3 times, Bell twice, of Hearts 3 times, Bubble once, Gibber once, Bass 3 times, Jabber once, Gum once, Adam once, Hocus once, Cocoa 3 times, Pocus once, Eve once, Gin once, Thunder once, Bean twice, Lightning once, and Tonic twice. As you might remember last update, I actually really enjoyed, was it Touch and Tea? They would have to be my peaks. I was not prepared for those shadows. Let me give you a swatch. It's not something that I would think I would lean towards. That is it there. But actually, I really loved those shadows, Tea and Touch. You can also tell that because I did use them both 3 times. From a pit standpoint, maybe Duck, C, or of Hearts. These shades are not as, I guess, bright and shimmery as I've experienced in previous shadows. Duck actually is quite bright. These two here, especially of Hearts doesn't have the punch that I was hoping from that shadow, especially because it is meant to be a shimmer shadow, but it comes across a bit more matte once you put it on your eyes. So that would have to be my pit. But overall, I really enjoyed this palette and I'm happy to have it in my collection, though it has rolled out of this project. And then we have the 2 palettes I rolled in last update. Let's start off with the Cocoa Pebbles palette. This is by I Heart Revolution, the Cocoa Pebbles palette. Let's move that plastic out the way. But this is what this one looks like. Also, you can see a nice shiny pan. That is also part of my Beauty A to Z project. But let's pull this up on the screen and we will jump into what uses I've had on each shadow. First off, we have Chip Off the Old Block. That has 1 use. Club has 1 use. Chocolatey has 2 uses. Stonage has 1 use. Snack has 1 use. Flavor has 1 use. Rocks has 2 use. Quarry has 20 uses. Puffs has 2 uses. Lifelong Pow has 1 use. Caveman has 2 use. Crispy has 2 use. Family has 1 use. Rubble has 1 use. Bam Bam has 2 uses. Rice has 2 uses. Cocoa has 3 uses. And Barney has 1 use. Sorry, Barney has 2 uses. I was actually surprised to find out how much I enjoyed this palette. I will admit that I got it more for the packaging than the shadow story, color story inside. And I didn't think so, but I really enjoy these shadows like Puff, Rice, and Crispy. Those really light, slightly colored, shiny shadows. I actually really enjoyed those. So they would have to be my peak for this palette. In relation to pits, I would probably actually say stones. Overall, I like this shadow. There is no issues with this shadow, but it didn't really match the color story going on. It does have that blue silver look to it, and yeah, it didn't really match the warmer tones of everything else that was happening. So that one would have to be my pit. Jumping into Fruity Pebbles. These are both I Heart Revolution palettes. This one is definitely the colorful one of the pair. As you can see, there is a pan. That one is also from Beauty A to Z. So let's pull this up on the screen and jump straight into the uses. Slate, Rock and Gravel has 1 use. Yabba Dabba Doo has 12 uses. Water Buffalo has 1 use. Fruity has 1 use. Spoon has 1 use. Betty has 1 use. Dino has got 5 uses. Charge it, has got 2 uses. Cereal has 1 use. Fred has 1 use. Pebbles has 2 uses. Cherry has 1 use. Bedrock has 1 use. Wilma has 2 uses. Hoppy has 2 uses. Milk has 4 uses. Bowl has 6 uses. And Sweet has 2 uses. As you can straight away tell from my uses, ignoring Yabba Dabba Doo, as that one was in my Beauty A to Z and my goal was to hit pan. The other shadow that I got most uses on organically was Bowl, and that is this pinky shimmer shade just there. It's like an orangey pinky shade. I did use it as an inner corner highlight a few times, especially with pink looks. And I also used Dino quite a bit. These match some of the shadows in my Beauty A to Z project, so I could work them well together. So overall, those ones would probably have to be my peaks, as I found myself going back to them multiple times. In relation to pits, that is a hard one. That might have to be this red shade by Cherry, or maybe even Yabba Dabba Doo. Those ones were good, but not something that I was overly drawn to go back to multiple times. But this one has also rolled out. So that means I've actually used the 4 palettes that were in this project, no pan left behind style. And I actually achieved that kind of early since my last update, halfway through since my last update. And that's when I went a little bit off book. And I went off book with these. I decided to start rolling in my little Beauty Bay 9 pan palettes, and I have managed in that time to hit no pan left behind on all 5 of these. So let's quickly just run through them. This is why I had issues reaching goals on my Beauty A to Z palettes. Let's start with my earthy palette. This is what it looks like. And I actually used all of these shadows once. So this one will be rolling out. And I really did enjoy this palette. This shade here, Ray, is a gorgeous shadow. And that one might actually have to be my peak. But like I said, I've only used these once, so I won't be able to give you a pit. Then we jump into my Berries palette. I actually used this one slightly more. I used the first top row once each, these 2 once each, this one twice, this one once, and these 2 twice each. Dura is in my Beauty A to Z project, and it is a gorgeous shadow. But I'd have to say my peak might actually be this one, this light pink shadow, that one there. That's this one right here, which is Cloud. I found I was using that as an inner corner highlight with some of my Beauty A to Z shadows, so that one would be my peak. Then we have Midnight. I am actually using a shadow from this palette on my eyes right now. It is along my lower lash line here. It is Electric, which is in my Beauty A to Z. I really like this shadow actually. It's a beautiful blue purple, but I have used all these shadows once as well. Then we have the original Brights palette. I've also used all these shadows once. I quite like this palette, but I will say that since now getting the Brights 2.0, these shadows are a bit darker than that one. They've got a bit of a more, they're less neon, I guess is the way to say. They're a bit more dusty, but overall I do enjoy this palette. And last but not least is my Brights 2.0 palette. I do have that on my eyes today. I've got it in my crease and on my lid, and that's what this one looks like. I adore this green. That is 100% my peak. This might even be my peak overall for the month for all the shadows. I adore that shade. But overall, I used all these shadows once, except for Taxi, which is part of my A to Z project. I did use this one twice. But that is all my shadows. Like I said, I 100% went off book, and I did find, if you watch my Beauty A to Z project recently, that I had less progress on those shadows, and I think it is because I went crazy with my eyes project. What we're going to do now is I'm going to jump in to my montage of all the shadows I've been using, and then we're going to come back and I'm going to roll in my new products. Be warned though, I am going to look differently because I have to stop filming now to go to work. So this is going to be filmed in 2 different sections. See you soon. And we're back. As you can see, I look completely different because this was filmed on a different day. I do feel like my lookbooks are getting rather long, considering the time between one update and the next. So please let me know down in the comments if you are enjoying them being a part of this video or if you would like them to be in their own separate video. So as you would have seen before my lookbook, I managed to get through 9 palettes with my no pan left behind. And though that was rather a good achievement, I do want to be spending more time focusing on my Beauty A to Z shadows, as I definitely want to hit pan on all 26 of those before the end of the year. So with that in mind, I'm only going to be rolling in 4 new palettes, and these palettes are from my Beauty A to Z project. And just a little hint, while doing this look this morning, I do have a spoiler for that project. But let me go through what palettes we have here. I decided to go for these palettes as they do have that bright color story. Some of them are pastel, some of them are quite bright, but they've got that bright, colorful color story, which is what I feel like using at the moment. But first I am rolling in another Beauty Bay palette. I do have quite a few Beauty Bay palettes. I have been through all of my 9 pan palettes, but I have this palette and another 2 of the, is it the 16 pan type palettes, and then I also have the Nikki Tutorials palette. So I have quite a few by Beauty Bay, but this is the Techno Days palette, and this is the color story that we will be working on. It is kind of a bit pastel, a bit bright. It's got a few shimmers in it. I'm very much looking forward to giving this shadow a try. This one is in my Beauty A to Z project, but this one is quite pretty. I'm really looking forward to giving this one a go on my eyes. So this palette has 8 shadows in it. I do think we will get through them rather quickly. Then we have the Revolution Celestial Dreams palette. This is a 9 pan palette, and this is what it looks like. This shadow up here is my Beauty A to Z shadow. And I do have a bit more of a pastel feel from this palette. This one here is probably quite a lot like Acid from the Techno Days palette. So I'm hoping having shadows that are the same will mean that I, one, won't focus in on shadows too much, but also that I'll be able to do similar looks, which will also utilize my A to Z shadows, and then I'll be able to roll in different shadows from these eyes palettes. So like I said, there are 9 shadows in this palette. And now we have my spoiler alert. This is my BH Cosmetics Tokyo palette. And this is what it looks like. As you can see, spoiler, let's just talk about the elephant on the room. This morning, while I was doing this, I did hit pan on Unio Park. But this one is a very rainbow colored story, and I'm looking forward to giving all these shadows a go. I am a fan of green shadows, so I am looking forward to using Rainbow Bridge, but also Roppongi. I am not very good with the names. That one, this purple over here, I'm looking forward to using that one as well. And this one is a 16 pan palette. And last but not least, we have another Beauty Bay palette. This is the new Moods palette. And this is what it looks like. This is a 20 pan palette, and though it does still have some of those really bright colors, it also has a few of the more neutral shades in it. So I am looking forward to giving this one a bit more of a play. So far, I haven't used any shadow in this palette. Actually, in all 4 of these palettes, I haven't used any shadows that aren't in my Beauty A to Z project. So I am really looking forward to giving all these shadows a go, and meaning that there is going to be less shadow in my collection that is untouched, which is the entire purpose of this project. What I am planning to do, if I do get through all 4 of these palettes, I will roll in another palette. But like I said, my aim is to spend more time focusing on my other shadows in other projects. So I am hoping that I won't be rolling through this one so quickly. Though at the same time, I do still have the goal of touching all shadows in my collection by the end of the year. So just to recap, these are the 4 palettes rolling into this project, and I'm definitely looking forward to giving them all a bit of a play. But until next time, I'm Verity. This was the second update for my Enjoy Your Eyeshadows project pan, and now to the outro.